Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh boy.
It's Chicken Nugget Tuesday!
Yes! You got the connection.
I'm like, why are we doing the chicken dance? And I'm like, oh wait, it's Tuesday!
Good morning, Cubs.
It's like you're just coming right out of the box with this, huh? Right out of the box.
And remember
We start
something.
strong.
I don't
Tell
know
you
what the
what.
date is, but it's Chicken Nugget Tuesday.
That's what you really need to know. You know
Right.
the important information, right? Good morning, Cubs. Today is March 12th, 2024. It's Chicken Nugget Tuesday. Good morning, Mrs. Skelton.
Good morning, Mrs. Russell.
Good morning and good morning, Cubs.
Guys, we're so glad you're here today. It's going to be a terrific Tuesday at Creekside. Let's start off with some student birthdays.
So many birthdays today. I'm so excited. Tristan in Miss Eggert's room, happy birthday. Emery and Mrs. Wodes' room, happy birthday. Aria and Miss Todd's room, happy birthday. Colin and Mrs. Sprague's room, happy birthday. And Josie and Mrs. Blackburn's room, happy birthday, friends. We hope you have an awesome day.
Happy birthday. Let's fast forward on our calendar and celebrate one staff birthday. This person has a summer birthday. She takes care of everyone in our building, big and small Cubs. We are so appreciative for her and her caring heart. Happy birthday, June 15th, to Mrs. Russell.
Thank you. Thank you. And I so appreciate us celebrating summer birthdays because I know to all my fellow summer birthdays, they just weren't celebrated in school when
I'm
we
with
were in
you
school.
right here. Yep.
So thank you for rolling it back for the summer birthdays.
Absolutely.
So
It's a special day.
It is a very special day. We're going to announce February Cub leaders today. Are you ready to get us rolling?
Yes, I can do kindergarten and then I'll pass it off.
That's great.
All
We're
right.
so proud of you, Cubs. Here we go.
I love this celebration. So this is for the month of February, and I believe we are doing a popcorn and juice party for our winners.
We are.
this
Although
month.
I think you were right. As I look at the weather in the morning, it's so cold. By the afternoon, I'm like, you know what? Mrs. Skelton had a good point about it.
Maybe we can go out to the pond and we can have popcorn and juice by the pond.
Popcorn
so we'll
at the
combine
pond?
it. Yes,
Yes.
popcorn at the pond.
Wow.
So Cub leaders, you will have a popcorn date at the pond very soon. All right, Mrs. Benjamin's class, Fatah. Congratulations. Miss Fury, Aubrey. Miss Francis, Mia. Mrs. Lerman, Lena. Mrs. Montgomery, Major. Mrs. Churko, Ethan. Mrs. Chuckabari, Abel. From Mrs. Stone's class, Rita. And from Mrs. Cunningham's class, AJ. And in Miss Knapp's class, Sam. Congratulations, kindergarten Cub leaders.
Let's recognize some first grade Cub leaders from Mrs. Ridinger's class, Adelaide. From Mrs. Todd's class, Wilder. Mrs. Blackburn's class, Ellie. We have from Mrs. Musser's class, Paige. From Mrs. Winkle's class, Oscar. From Mrs. Patterson's class, Caden. From Mr. Harold's class, Izu. From Mrs. Sprague's class, Wilmer. From Mrs. Morris's class, Emmeline. From Mrs. Fisher's class, Isaac. And from Mrs. Stein's class, Dante. Way to go, first grade Cub
Way to
leaders.
go.
Would you like to do second grade?
Please, yes. From Mrs. Allen's room, who happens to be on the set right
Live
now,
on the set.
Noah. From Mrs. Cavender's room, Autumn. Mrs. Walfogel, Zana. Miss Buffler, Emma. Mrs. Wozes, Hudson. Mrs. Moeller, Avery. Miss Eggert, Garasis. Mrs. Kellerman, Avery. And Mrs. Wilson, James. Is that all for? And Mrs. Fetzer, Eloise.
Wonderful. Okay, so this is a group of like our extra support teachers. So UAs, reading intervention specialists, and our amazing ESL teachers. So it's a whole mix of people. So for Mrs. Haynes, Jameson Denning from Mrs. Stone's class. Mr. Bodden, Jameson Jones, and I don't have a class for that. So Jameson Jones, yay! Woohoo! All right, Mr. Kellerman, Logan from Mrs. Lerman's room. From Miss Mino, Michaela, and Miss Morris's class. Mrs. Kennedy, Grass's car in Miss Eggert's room. She's a double winner this
She's
month.
got a double.
Woohoo!
Wow.
She's had a rock star month. Mrs. Averbeck, Abdu Demady in Miss Muller's room. Mrs. Russell, Corwin from Miss Allen's room. And then we also have Francis in Mrs. Muller's room, recommended by our intervention team. We have Tasneen from Mrs. Morris's class, from Miss Dyer, and Marisol from Mrs. Vandahar. Congratulations, friends. Marisol is in Mrs. Winkle's class. So congratulations, friends. We are so proud of our Cub leaders and popcorn on the bond.
Can't wait. Way to
Can't
go,
wait.
Cub leaders. We'll let your teachers know about a date for that. We'll try to get that in soon. And of course, we're going to try to pick a nice day outside to
We have a lot of
celebrate.
nice days to choose from.
We do. Mrs. Russell, are we still doing our book madness?
Yes, we are.
Love it.
Okay, here we go. Our winner from yesterday was Definitely Do Not Open This Book was our winner yesterday.
Then people didn't follow instructions.
So our challenge today is
Good choices.
Outside In and The Day the Crayons Quit. So
I know what my favorite
I
is.
wonder which one will win tomorrow.
It's on like Donkey Kong.
Okay.
It's on. That's
So
going to be a good showdown.
And we are getting really close in our tournament, like it's coming to an end soon. So I love that we are able to just relax and, you know, do our thing and be able to read these books with our
Are you
friends.
sure?
We're almost through round one.
I was going to say, we're almost finished round
Excuse me.
one. We will work on brackets later. It'll be great.
It's a sweet 16 or something.
Okay.
Well done.
Excuse me, I was incorrect. There is still a ways. There's still a ways to go. I apologize. Thank you, everybody on
Mrs.
the
Russell,
set.
you're doing great. Can you roll us into the weather also, please?
I
Because
feel like
you're on
this
a
is your
roll.
jam. You've got it. On
Yep.
Tuesday, this is a day that you can wear your slippers outside because it's so nice. 65 degrees, sunny, partly cloudy, going
bring your
outside
slippers?
to go get the mail. To go get the
Okay,
mail,
okay.
or to take out your animal or your pet. You won't have to have lots of layers on there. 65 degrees, partly sunny, and it will get to 43 today.
Wonderful. Slippers outside. I don't recommend them for recess, but absolutely for the,
But at your
in
house,
the ways that you said.
absolutely,
Sure.
yep. Great
Sure,
day
why
to
not?
not have to layer
Do you
lots of
mean,
layers
like,
today.
Pajama slippers? Like
Like house slippers, like, yeah. Like
I just wasn't sure if it was a different word for
slippers or
flip-flop. I was curious.
slippers.
Oh, well, you kind of already got a preview to what happened in the cafeteria lineup
Kindergarten
challenge.
won again, didn't they?
No.
Now I'm picking up on the clues here.
Okay, great! Nice job! I'm so excited. Thank you for being that role model. First grade, I will say Mrs. Skelton was down there yesterday helping, doing some work on lining up. So I feel like first grade, you are primed and ready to be awesome today. So we're excited. Congratulations. Second graders, Ms. Allen's class, that was fun to have you guys here with us.
Is this the last week of the lineup challenge and then we're
It is,
changing
and
it?
then we're changing it to clean up. And
Yeah.
the thing that's going to be slightly different is one class is going to be able to win it for their grade level. So yeah,
Wow.
I'm really excited to see how this goes.
And then how much compassion are you gonna get?
And we're going to keep it at 3. So I appreciate that you're keeping us focused on the prize. That's important. Mrs.
Yes,
Skelton
it
would
is.
have wanted to know.
Yeah.
Well, I like the twist on the competition that one class can win for the whole grade level.
Yeah, I'm excited.
That's exciting. Yes. It's time for staff shout outs. Mrs. Russell, would you like to
Okay,
lead off?
I have Mrs. Morris. Your classroom management is impeccable
Oh, I love
and shows even when there is a guest teacher.
Love it.
Mrs. Moeller, you keep me sane on some of my hardest days. I love laughing with you.
Oh, laughter is great. Mrs. Woodsitz, she's always goes out of her way to say hi and start a conversation. She is unbelievably friendly. I love that. And Mrs. Cavender, she always shows such love and support for her students.
Wonderful.
Mrs. Chuck Bari, because she brought in my favorite snacks. Thank you.
Great idea.
Oh,
Mrs. Cherko, she shared some amazing resources to help me make accommodations for one of my friends.
Love it.
Sharing resources. And last but not least, Mrs. Wilson, because your love for your students shows through everything you do.
Absolutely.
It sure does.
wonderful.
Sounds
Thanks
like
for
we
the
love
shout-outs,
kids and
Sam.
love to laugh.
That's what we
That's
do.
perfect.
That's how we roll. You guys ready to help us with the Creekside Cup motto?
Yeah.
Here at
Creekside, we take care of others, we take care of ourselves, and we take care of this place. Creekside Cubs care.
Have a great day, Cubs.
I love it.
Please stand for the pledge.